Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's time for the cheap seats. Another episode of the cheap seats. We're here. We're live. It's Saturday. It's April 18th. It's 2020, and we're here for another episode. of the
Happy to
Cheap
be
Seats.
here.
Number 4, episode number 4. We've done this 4 weeks in a row. Ooh. For our audio listeners, you might have heard a voice there. For our video watchers, you see four strapping gentlemen on the screen with me today. That's all right. We got a lot of meat on the podcast tonight. And I'm very excited to introduce this meaty bunch I have with me. But before we get into that, just for everybody listening or watching this episode, I want to say thank you. You guys are doing the right thing by tuning into the Cheap Seats Network, watching these videos, and just doing what you can to show your support for us. We really, really appreciate that. Nobody's Home, Cheap Seats, the shows that are continue to come out. We love the support. So go ahead and keep liking, keep sharing, keep watching the videos. We're doing great. Now, enough of that nonsense. Let's get into this nonsense. You see the title of this episode. You know something's up. All 5 of us in this picture here have something in common. And we're going to get to what that is in a little bit here. But joining me today, I have Matt Miller. Speak so the people know what you sound like.
Very nice to meet everybody. Not much to say here, but I will leave everybody with one thing. You know what's more important than material things?
Oh, what is that? What's that?
Knowledge. Get yourself a bookshelf and some books.
Let me get you a little close up there, buddy. Let me get you.
The compound effect brought to you
we
by
have the car and the books.
Matt, what's your favorite Malcolm Gladwell?
All right, we'll get to Matt's favorite Malcolm Gladwell in a minute. I also need to let me introduce the rest of the panel here today. I have Brian Menser also on the show today.
How we doing,
Brian?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You look good. I'm glad we can see you on the stream right now. I'm glad. It's good to see your face. It's good to see.
I appreciate it. You as well. Everybody looks healthy. We all look healthy.
Yeah, that's true. I can't say otherwise. You guys all do look rather healthy. Looking especially healthy down there below me, Jordan Long. How you doing, Jordan Long?
Hey man, how's it going? Appreciate you having me on the show. Just glad to be here with you guys. we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. So I'm excited.
I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you being on the show, Jordan. I have the I have the closest and most tenure, I think, with you than anyone else on the show today. You and me, if we need to, we'll be teaming up. Depending on which direction things go, we can be on a team.
If things get dicey, yeah, you guys will link up.
But most likely, the soul man who we'll all be fighting against, Caleb Malone. On the podcast.
Hi everyone. I am not healthy at the moment right now. Not from coronavirus or anything, just the isolation has made my mental health go into a steep decline at the moment. Yeah, hi.
We're gonna bounce back, brother. We're gonna bounce back.
I think so. I think that's definitely true. I think we will bounce back, and I think that's why that was some of the reason for my wanting to do this type of episode. If you guys don't know, the 5 of us at some point or another, I don't think the 5 of us have lived together, but I have lived with each one of you. I know Matt, Jordan, Brian, and myself have lived together. I lived with Caleb, but in a separate year. But we've all lived together. We've all been roommates before. We've all had crazy kind of fun or just like niche or just cool stories that we carry on with each other between ourselves. Some more explicit than others. But that's something that we keep between us. So I thought it'd be a good, fun time to get you guys on the show because I thought about what would it be like if we had the same situation, but it was like 2016 when we had a house together. What would things be like? How would we be cooped up together for that amount of time? That's something I've thought about for sure. So I wanted to have you guys on here, just kind of talk and see what's been going on really with you and get into some stories, maybe share some stories about what we've been through, living together, not living together, things like that.
Oh, where do we even begin?
Right.
I mean, there's lots of stuff. I guess I'll just begin really with I want to talk to you guys. Just basically, what do you like? For those of the people who might not know you, the people who maybe either stumbling along to this podcast or people who aren't familiar with you guys, we'll just go in order. I mean, Matt, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? What has your displacement been like? What's been going on with you the past month or so?
I'll say to your earlier point, what would we all have been doing if we were like still living? Like if this was 2016 or whatever, and this happened. First, I don't think that we would have been abiding by quarantining. I think we've all been interacting with each other still. I think we all would have gotten sick.
Quarantining within the house.
So I think that's a certain. But
That's a nice sentiment.
as to what I've been up to, I suppose, quarantining is I'm a homebody to begin with, so like I don't really mind staying home playing video games and doing stuff like that, but I'm fortunate enough to still have my job, so I'm still getting paid, and that's nice. But dude, I want to get the fuck outside though.
Yeah, I
mean that's good to a certain point. I mean, it sounds like you're just kind of getting through the bones of it, and I'm the same way. I'm a homebody, so it's just like I spend a lot of time doing the things I enjoy at home as is. So I mean, it's definitely a hit to where it's just like you have this restriction, but like I'm chilling. Brian, what about you, man?
Well,
Brian, what about you?
Aside from working, I don't consider myself a homebody or an introvert, whatever term you want to use. But I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to step foot back into a bar again. That's all I need right now.
Yeah, you're sick though.
Well, dude, not even really that. Just being able to hang out with the guys is playing Xbox and having FaceTime conference calls can only go so far.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hole to miss that. Like, hey, let's meet up tonight and then we'll go out or we'll do this or we'll do that. There's definitely a hole there as far as that kind of things goes. And I know that's your avenue for sure. You're a guy that likes to hang out. So yeah. I get that. So that makes a lot of sense.
The nice thing is we don't have to like plan for anything, which is always stressful with a group of guys that have absolutely zero concept of preparing for anything.
Sure.
You like that one, Jordan?
It's a good point. You make good points. What about you, Jordan? How have you been?
Dude, man, I mean, kind of like Matt. I mean, I'm more than content staying in the house, especially with everything going on. Not that I don't like the outside, but I'm a gamer, so I've been gaming a lot, watching movies. Haven't been paying too much attention to music, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I've been out of work since Corona started, so had to file for unemployment and all that fun stuff. So it's great.
Shout out to Pennsylvania unemployment, dude.
Hey, Jordan, lucky for us, we get to live at home, so we don't really have to.
Right, exactly. That is a blessing. I
got my parents for letting me stay here rent free.
Right, exactly. No shame, especially during these trying times. Spirits are high. Had Passover a week or two ago over Zoom, which was terrible.
Really?
Imagine a Jewish family with 10 different cameras trying to do like a Christmas dinner, but it's Passover.
No, I can get into that. Yeah, dude.
It was a lot.
Imagery. That's good imagery. I'm into it. So what's Passover? Are you normally do you stay around here for Passover? Are you normally going somewhere?
We actually normally host Passover at our house.
Okay, and how many people is that normally?
Usually about 20, 25 people.
Eesh.
So
I don't even know 20 family members.
Yeah, so over a Zoom video call, it was a lot, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of talking over each other, I imagine.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty. What about, and oddly enough, yeah, like I haven't been paying attention to that much music as well. At least new stuff. I haven't really been. I've made some playlists here or there. I've gone back and I've broken out the vinyl a little bit, but yeah, I haven't been catching up on too much. I know a dude that's pretty well versed in the music scene is Caleb. So has that been something that's kind of been holding you strong there, Caleb?
Pray for Paris out now. Yeah, I'd give that a listen. But yeah, unlike the 4 review, I'm going insane. I'm going absolutely insane with this. I think out of us, out of the 5 people here, I live alone completely.
No, you don't.
So I have 2 cats. So it is me and the 2 cats right now. And I'm an introvert too. Like I like staying in and everything, but just like, I don't know, for me, I'm still working, but I'm working remote now. And like, I'm surprised that my coworkers are annoying me more now over the phone than they would be in person. So I don't know. I'm going insane. Yeah, I'd say that's the description of what's been happening.
Shit.
Right.
It's scarce. And Caleb, I didn't really put that in perspective. You are like, it's you and the cats. You guys are chilling pretty steady. Has there been any neighbor interaction with you? Like, have you guys been like talking over the fence or anything like that? Or has there been kind of like anything going on in that aspect?
Yeah. So I have this one neighbor. He's right out there, actually, right out this window here. But
Invite him inside.
But he's a good guy. My only interaction really so far since this started is I went outside and I was mowing the lawn, which is like now one of my favorite things because it gives me an excuse to not be inside. But I was outside mowing the lawn and it was him and his son, and it must have been the kid's grandpa, but not his dad, on his way like coming in. And he had like a thing of disinfectant spray. He like sprayed something, and he's like, my neighbor's like, why do you have that? And he's like, oh, I just spray everything now to be safe. And he looks at his son. He's like, tell him it's a fucking hoax. It's a fucking hoax.
Neville Island.
Yeah.
I'm glad your neighbors think that think that this is a hoax. That makes me feel good for you. Especially
president.
That's my neighbor to the left, and then my neighbor to the right randomly came over the other day with $20 in chocolate. She's like, "Thank you for the macaroni and cheese." And I'm like, "I didn't give anyone macaroni and cheese." She's like, "Stop it!" And she starts like walking away. I'm like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Here, take your money and chocolate." She's like, "Quit messing with me! I know you made that macaroni and cheese." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about," but she took the 20 back and she let me keep the chocolate, and then I ate all the chocolate. And
you negotiated with her.
Hey man,
That's
that
crazy.
sounds like a win.
Yeah. I would have felt. I feel like that's a test, though. I feel like that's like, if anything, someone's testing you by having by sending a woman to your house with money and chocolate and saying, "Hey, thank you for the macaroni." Like, I feel like that was testing your like will as a person and like a human being. So I'm glad that you overcame.
Passed the integrity check.
But I'm glad you guys are doing well, and I'm glad you guys are kind of settling into your crazy groovy new lifestyles. Just like I said earlier, here on the Cheap Seats, we like to bring in new people and have new guests, as well as bring back older guests and things like that. Mix them, fuse them. Each episode is going to be a new flavor and a new kind of thing. So while you're here, like, subscribe, follow the channel, go to the Twitter and the Instagram. Both of those links are up top. So it's like, what was in your heads heading into that whole?
I was excited.
That first weekend, who was there? Like, I think I was one of the first ones there. Who else? Like,
I think you and I moved in as soon as we were able to.
That was early summer,
Matthew.
and then there was, you guys had a bunch of friends over. That's the first time that you introduced us to Jason, actually, I believe.
Dude, the state of that house when we moved in. Do you remember that?
Of course. How could I forget?
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. It was like if you've seen Space Jam and you know, like when they're like before they do the spit shine to the floor, like the hardwood floor, that's what it looked like. That's what the house was. It was dirty, disgusting, and gross, and there was shit everywhere. But we lived there, and we made it our own. Though we definitely turned it up a notch. You know?
I was
What'd you
super
say?
excited personally. Coming from living with
Yeah.
you, Chase, and living with Sean, and obviously
Mhm.
I was already close with Brian, and Matt was kind of more or less the new guy, but we had gotten pretty familiar in the short amount of time, so I was pretty comfortable with him being there. I mean, yeah, I was excited. I mean, having 2 former roommates, 2 new roommates. You were on the first floor with me, Chase. I thought we had always a good dynamic, and
I think so too.
I feel like we just had a very easy time just relaxing on our downtime. You know, I mean, when you had stuff to do or I had stuff to do, we do our thing, and then, you know, everyone congregates. You guys up top would hang up in the second floor more, and we would hang down on the first floor more. Sometimes we do a little crossover. Just really depends.
Little crossover special, yeah.
But
yeah, it was. I mean, I liked our first floor dynamic for sure, and we'll get into some stories obviously that we have a little bit here. I loved what we had going on in that first floor. It was like we fed off each other really well. It was like either you'd be coming back from class or maybe I'd be coming back from work, and we'd have like a really like I Love Lucy, like Lucy and like Ricardo type of thing going on. Like, yo, you want to make dinner?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You want to make dinner? Like, you want to make dinner? You want to like watch a movie? You want to chill out for a little bit? But we had a very like easy way about navigating with and around each other. It was very good. Good time for sure. Upstairs guys though, they were around for sure. Sean Herman, I saw him
3 times.
I lived with him the whole year. Saw him 3 times for sure. He had the, I guess, benefit of having an exit to his bedroom to where he didn't have to leave the main part of the house to leave. So he wouldn't. Thus, I wouldn't see him leave or enter the house. There'd be the occasional moment where he'd have his door open and just, you know, sitting in there, you know, thinking like David or something. And
he rearranged his room about 17 times throughout the.
Oh my God! Can I tell a Sean Herman story?
You got a Sean Herman story? Go for it, man.
Yeah. So God bless him. God bless Sean Herman. I love him to death. So my room was right next to Sean's. Okay, and there was like a door that you could open to get into my room. It was kind of
I remember this.
So initially, I had like a futon kind of deal blocking the door, and just to fuck with Sean, like I would do this because I know he would do this. So before, it was either like before he went to bed or like before he would leave or something. I think it was before he went to bed. He would always make sure the doors are locked. Like he had this thing about the doors being locked. So I would fuck with him, and that door, like next door, like in between us, like I would unlock it and shit. And dude, one day he got like pissed and like took a screwdriver and fucked it up and like wouldn't let me fucking lock it or anything.
And then
He
me and Matt
definitely someone that
lived when me and Matt lived by, because I took Herman's room. We had to take that door down, and we put up just like a bead necklace between it, and then we just shared each other's room like a commune.
Did you really have a bead door up?
No,
Nope. No, that didn't happen at all. No, that didn't happen.
I would have loved for you guys to have a bead door. That'd been great. That'd have some really interesting good stories. I was Matt, you were not there the full year, the second time around. Correct?
I dipped out probably, I don't know, a month, 2 months early from the end of the week.
The kid lived there for 3 years?
So I'd say Jordan was like the ultimate veteran because Matt lived there for 2 years, Jordan lived there for 3 years, I lived there for 2 years, Brian lived there for 2 years.
Okay. So I wasn't sure about that one.
It went you 4 and Herman, and then us 4, and then
Jason lived with us for a little while.
And then Jason lives with us for like 3 months. Like with the 4 of us. It was like the 4 of us and Jason.
And then I moved out and then Ray moved in.
And then Ray moved
Gotcha.
in.
Okay, so he
They
okay,
moved
all
into
right.
my room.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that aspect of it worked out. But while we were living there, I mean, we had, and then surely Caleb wasn't living with us that first year, but I mean, he was around enough to see kind of the ins and outs of what was going on, the sins, of what was going on at the home. Brian, I know you kind of made a small little list. Anything from that list you kind of just like you can pick out, and that you picks out from you that either an early time from being there or just like an important time from being there that you're just like, this was really something.
If we're going in chronological order, I just remember the first official weekend that I moved in there. We had just kind of been hanging out, and I was setting up my room, and I had a couple of people up there just hanging out while I was doing that. And then, a couple hours go by and everybody leaves, but it's just us. It's just us roommates in the house, and I hear this like noise from the outside in the intersection right by the house, and it sounds like he's saying, "I'm sorry."
Oh my God!
So
was that the first weekend?
Yeah, I was there first. That is my first impression of Coriopolis. So, I go and get you guys, and I'm like, I hear this screaming outside, and then we all look out the window and see him in the intersection up in my room, and we're all like, all right, we got to get a closer look. So we hop in Matt's car and we drive around the block and we approach him, and the first thing that we notice is that he has this massive gash across his forehead, and he's just got blood dripping down his face.
He's bleeding to shit. That's
he's bleeding to shit. And we pull up to him, and then he we ask him, we're like, "Are you okay?" He's like, yeah.
I think he's on the driver's side, like he's next to Matt, basically.
Right,
so
and
Matt's
then
like leaning out of the window.
He touches his wound, and then he reaches into the window, and then Matt just floors it out of there.
He's like, "I'm looking for my girlfriend."
Yeah. He
was looking for his girl. And we were like, we were trying to help him find her. And then, dude, he tried to touch me with his bloody ass hand. And I was like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, so we go back home. And then, not even 2 minutes later, we go back and look. No, we drive around the block. We go up Wood Street, turn right on one of those back streets, come down the hill, and then back onto 7th Avenue. And then that is maybe 15 seconds. And then, boom, cop.
Yeah.
And
we're all just like, poor guy.
And it was right in front of our house too, to where they're just like, "Do you guys know?" Like, "Oh no, we're just."
Yeah, and then they ask us a question as we walk back in, and Matt's like, "Nope, just going back inside."
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, that's a hell of a kind of first experience there with that, and that's definitely not the first or the last interaction that we had with the officers of the law. But I mean, getting acclimated into the neighborhood, though, I mean, we had a variety. I mean, it was definitely a neighborhood full of regular people, just regular people kind of living their lives. I believe our very closest next door neighbor was an older man named Enzo. It was him and his daughter that he lived with.
No, that was his younger.
They pretty much kept quiet and chilled and like didn't give us like much shit or anything like that. HSO what?
Dude, that was not his daughter. That was his wife.
No, dude, that was his daughter, 100%.
Bro, the one neighbor gave us the scoop the next year. I promise you. She said, we're like, yeah, him and his daughter. She's like, that's not his daughter. That's his wife.
Well, hey, I mean, either way.
I'm pretty sure he introduced us as his daughter multiple occasions. That's something to dig into.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's some information to dig into.
I'm just telling you what the neighborhood gossip lady said. So.
Well, we had them living next to us.
Oh, you mean deer processing lady?
Lots of deer processing lady.
So that's something we had a deer processor also. So at any given time, the game could be coming in and out, going in, as roadkill, coming out as jerky and things of that nature.
Explain the turf war that was the hills of Coriopolis.
Was there
the
a turf war?
Yeah, so you might be talking about something different, but Enzo was explaining to me one day that the hill in Coriopolis would have it was basically a totem pole. So he said the Germans lived at the top of the hill and the Italians lived at the bottom. Not sure how accurate that is, but that's what he said.
That's
I
pretty
thought
much
was interesting.
Did they do that on purpose? They did it on purpose? Is that what they did? Because I mean, it seemed like he was definitely ingrained in the neighborhood for a while. I don't know if you guys know how long he had lived there, but it
That
definitely
guy
seemed
had
like
been
he,
there forever.
yeah, it definitely seems like he had put some pretty lengthy tenure
He had some
on that
roots
street.
there for sure.
He was our
yeah.
very next door neighbor. We were
I would
only
feed
separated
squirrels
by
out of his
an
hand.
alleyway. Yeah, we were only separated by a very narrow alleyway. Not even like a comfortable puking alleyway.
No.
We know
At
from
least we had
experience.
plenty of space between us and the ladies across the street on the left side.
He would always
Scream.
he would always complain
Yeah, there
to
were-
me about the trash in the alleyway.
There were a
Yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of
You
screamers.
realize the trash that we had was absolutely absurd. First off, in our kitchen, we had a 55-gallon fucking trash can. None of us wanted to take out the trash, so we found the biggest goddamn trash can we could find, and we would fill it over the brim.
Every time. It would take
Every time.
just maybe a
By the
day and a
time-
half to fill it.
By the time it got to the top, the food was already rotting at the bottom.
That kitchen was always very clean, especially the sink.
Oh my god!
So while
We
we're
tried.
on
Go
the
for it.
Matt Miller and I used to get into it here and there about the dishes. One of my favorite stories from the house is when we literally had an argument about whose dishes they were. And I was convinced they were his, and he was like, "Nah, they're not mine." And I'm like, "All right, well then whose are they?" Like I honestly didn't care whose they were. I just wanted them done.
Swear to God, I swear that I truly do not believe that they were mine. So what happened was I came home from work with Sam and Pat, and we were, you know, that island that separates the kitchen between like the living room, I guess.
You mean
Yeah,
the
yeah,
basketball court?
Sam were, like in the kitchen end, and Pat. Whenever you came over to say like, "Hey, are those your dishes?" and we started getting into it, Pat's like, "Oh, well, this island's separating you guys." So you know that's when we started getting into like a little
Right? Yeah, he was. I didn't even think about that. He was totally instigating.
And
So
then
we get face to face.
Yeah.
Basically, long story short, we lock up, and I'm wearing socks. I don't know if you were wearing socks, but I was wearing socks. And regardless, Matt's on a bum knee at the time, so like I thought I had a chance.
Well, that's a good story too.
And we kind of like tossed one another into the wall, and that's how there's a giant ass-sized hole in the wall there now.
Oh, very, very neat.
Yeah.
Very
So-
neat.
So we had a little project posting that up.
Yeah.
You know what? The whole dishes
Can I-
thing would have been a lot easier if we had a functioning dishwasher and not a rat cave.
Can I
Literal
make a
rat
comment on the
cave.
dishes? Can I make a comment on the dishes?
Sure, go
You
ahead.
may.
So I
Open.
lived in the room that Sean Herman did, and it had a sink and a stove in it. So like I didn't have to worry about any kitchen arguments or anything kitchen related. So in the 2 years that I lived there, Jordan, Matt, Brian, Gabe, Bonnet, and Ray, every single one of them didn't do the, or every single one of them did the dishes, and all 6 of the others are the ones that left the dishes there. And after 2 years and 6 roommates, there was no one ever fucking dirtied the dishes. It was none of the 6 people. It was like clockwork every year, but oh man, Ray, Jesus Christ.
There's maggots in the trash can. Dude, that's normal.
Yeah.
Dude, we had to change these maggots. There was maggots in like, you know, the 947-gallon trash can, and there was like maggots. And me and Jordan are like beside ourselves.
I
And
was
we're like, "What, dude? You guys have never had maggots before?" Like,
And we look at each other. We're like, what?
like, no. He's like, "Dude, they're not even flying yet. They're fine. They're not even hatched."
Not even fruit flies. Caleb, I remember we had an ant problem whenever you would bring home a bunch
The
of stuff.
donuts.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, donuts.
Oh, the Dunkin' Donut tenure. The you guys had a problem after that situation. I can see how that kind of would start off.
Okay,
I think
I know something that would be funny about the donuts. Brian, tell us the method you use to capture the ants.
So I set a box of donuts that had already been previously infested with ants on the ground, and then I let all the ants go to the donuts, and then I sprayed the shit out of the donut box with ant killer, bug spray or whatever.
I came downstairs.
No, it was
There was
bleach.
just, like,
It was
donuts all over
kitchen
the floor.
countertop bleach spray. It wasn't even bug killer. It was bleach in
Dude,
a spray
I came
bottle.
downstairs, and there's literally just like four or like honestly probably like 2 boxes of donuts just opened up, and there's just thousands of ants on them, crawling from everywhere. I'm like, what the fuck's happened? Brian comes down, he's like, see the trap I made.
Did you see the trap?
And I was standing there ready to aim and fire at those little bastards.
Just
It
so
was like a
proud
game.
of
It was like a sick game.
ants marching, just like these ants marching, and Brian's like, "Hell yeah, I did that."
I need to grab my phone, my laptop charger real quick.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I
Help!
whenever I initially moved into the lake house, I had my parents came with me to help me kind of like unpack things.
Yeah.
We took a trailer, and I would not let them in the house. The entire time, the entire 2 years that I lived there, they never saw the inside. And I am so thankful for that, because that was the most disgusting. They wouldn't have let me live there, I don't think.
Yeah.
I,
No,
I,
same thing.
I feel that too, but only for my mom. My dad was in there a few times, and he, he's done that whole thing before. He had no judgment to give.
Yeah. My same thing with my mom. She'd not step foot in the house. If she would have seen the kitchen, it'd have been like, no, like you can't cook your food where they shot the first Saw movie. Like you can't make that. Like be
sinful.
You can't let that be what you do. Yeah, but overall, it was just like there was just so many things. I feel like we had so many. It was almost like a sitcom that wasn't like always very funny, but we had a cast of characters coming in and out of that house just for random situations. We had a friend of ours. We essentially had a 6th roommate for a long period of time.
Oh, the AIL satellite office.
We had the AIL satellite. we had a satellite. We had a remote office in our living room for months.
Shit.
Just like waking up in the morning, like I'd wake up in the morning and it's like either have like a little bit of time before I go to work, and I'd come out and I just see like there's 3 different people, 2 of which I've never seen before, just like banging away at the laptop, just like looking and doing different things, hitting Jeeves. I
didn't want to be the first person to mention that.
Just doing funny, silly things. It was a weird, and Brian, you and Matt had a little bit of tenure with the AIL game. That was a rapid kind of moving time. Did you feel like a television show character while you were working there?
Bitch. That's what I felt like.
Dude, I felt like a documentary character whenever I remember Matt and Brian were like, listen, think about your family, if something would happen.
All right.
I'm like,
I don't know why you grouped me into that. That was all Matt.
I thought you guys had a good duo tandem.
I was in deep. Dude, I can remember the summer Tackett lived in Jordan's room before Jordan got there, and we were working AIL pretty heavy. And dude, I just like was never fucking home because we were just busting away, man.
Yeah.
Hours sucked. For as shitty as it was really good experience. But like, dude, we busted away.
Yeah, I mean, I would see you like in the morning, and we'd hang out. Like maybe I'd have to be somewhere like by like 11 or something. And I'd see you in the morning. We'd hang out for a little bit. I'm like, "What are you doing today?" And like, "Oh, I gotta go to Nebraska." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you what's going on?" Like, you have to go to like travel to different places and like kind of do different things. And yeah, you wouldn't like sometimes you wouldn't be back till
that was
a little
what
bit later
that
that
job
night.
was.
Kind of felt like an an absentee, you kind of felt the void a little bit, like Dad wasn't coming home, but that was a romp of a time.
Yeah, dude, it was like you would drive around the sticks of PA in a polo and a pair of jeans and knocking on people's doors. Hey, are you ready for our appointment? And it, no. And it was that, Matt. I agree with you, Matt. It was a good experience, but man, that was just an absolute, disaster of a.
Chase, I remember one time I came home from class, and they're sitting there in the living room watching TV, and I go to change the channel, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" Sorry, what? And I'm like, "I'm changing the channel." They're like, "No, we're watching this." I was like, "I live here."
It's like I literally pay rent here. It's like, what do you do? What?
Was that Pat and Nate?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always kind of like a what are you guys doing to help us as we work in your living room? Like, what are you?
Yeah. To be fair, though, they were really nice guys.
Oh yeah, definitely good guys for sure. It's just funny when your living room turns into an office for like a certain period of time, and like you can't like it's just like it's different. It's really different kind of stroke for us.
Matt,
What?
do you remember the one time that like we were just it was like near Thanksgiving, and no one else was there but us, and we were bored and we were just BSing. We were just like talking about different Ben and Jerry's flavors. We're like, dude, that one would be fire. And we're like, all right, let's go. And we drive to Walmart and we're like, oh fuck, it's Black Friday. Like all these people and shit. We were just trying to get some Ben and Jerry's.
Wasn't that at like 1 a.m. too? Like that, I remember that being late.
That's
so you were engrossed.
I did not remember that, but I remember that now, and that's so like us to get fucked up and say, oh, let's go to get Ben and Jerry's and not realize Black Friday.
No idea.
You guys had to look so out of place, like being anywhere in the store other than like the electronics aisle.
Yeah, we went in and we got in and got out.
We definitely lived in our own little world in Coraopolis. It was an interesting time.
I think we should touch base a little bit more on our neighbors, guys like Ty and all those people.
Yeah. So basically, we lived on the corner of a block, and so like I said, if you're facing the house, Enzo lived to the left of us, and behind us was Ty and his family. I'm not sure.
There was a family there first. There was a real nice family there first. A guy named Don who took pride in growing sunflowers. That was his thing. Yeah, and then here comes Ty. Here comes Ty. You knew something was up because all the sunflowers were fucking dead. So Ty comes in there, and Ty I thought at first was a very nice guy. He's very polite. But then one day he looked to me as I was getting out of my car. He goes, "Hey, college boy." I was like, "What's up?" And he goes, "Hey, if I ever need beer, you got me, right?" And he pulls up his shirt, revealing his strap. And I look at it and I'm like, "Yeah, man, sure. Anything for you."
What was your So let's set the scene. So our neighbor shows you his piece, and tells you, "Hey, if you ever need you got me, right?" What is your then next response? Like what is the thing that you do next?
Dude, I was honestly in shock, and since it wasn't the first time that someone showed and or pointed a gun at me, I wasn't too put off by it. The first time was with Kurt Ronner, actually outside the porn store. For some odd reason, we needed to get a receipt with a lipstick hiss mark on it. And it was after hours, so I was banging on the door. The guy comes out, pointing the gun at me and Kurt, were like, "Oh shit, he's got a gun." So we left.
But you,
But-
there was direction you gave Ty. What direction did you give
Yeah.
Ty after he showed you his gun?
Yeah,
Like there was something specific you told Ty to do.
This was a
after
this
he
was a
showed you
separate
his gun.
occasion. This was a separate occasion afterwards, but I was on my way
let's
out
just-
somewhere, and I didn't feel like dealing with him, and I said, "Go inside and ask Chase." Probably the
Correct.
dumbest thing
Which
that I've
you-
ever done.
which you did not
And-
relay with me.
No.
So the
and
next
then,
thing I know is I have a grown man entering the house uninvited, asking me for beer and
a man
other
that we
things of
know
that
carries a gun.
nature.
Correct.
A man that we
Yeah.
know carries a gun at that point. So I thank you. I thank you for that. I didn't know we had our neighbors to the right of us. They were definitely like screamers. I don't
Oh
know
my
too much
God.
about
You mean
them.
Across the street?
Do you mean the snap? I mean the
Yes, the snaps.
the snaps.
Yeah.
They
I've been in their house. Did you know that? I've been in the snaps house.
Yeah, the landlord showed you, didn't he?
Yeah, the 94-year-old Italian landlord was walking around in 30-degree weather with his cane up and down steps, like more active than half the people I know.
Dude, I would hear them scream, and there was like to me it looked like there was two older women there, and like someone probably some close to our age, I feel like, and she had a child, and it was the four of them living there. It was a young child, probably like
Yeah.
a late 20s-year-old girl, and the two women. The two women would scream. They would have screaming fits at each other, at the child. Like, if the child was looking at him funny, it was, "Go the fuck back inside, you piece of shit, fuck you." Like, and these two women definitely just had nothing good going on in their lives.
Do you know what they told me? After, because the people who were adjacent to that house were the landlords, but after
Yeah.
they kicked them out, they were telling me a story about how they had like 3 windows broken because their kid liked the sound of breaking glass. Like he thought it was fun, like the way the glass sounded when it cracked. Windows.
I don't want to judge kids here, but what a goddamn idiot.
Brian, there's 2 things that you put on your list that I want to address, because both of which I'm not very familiar with. Rat and all the ODs on our street.
Wait, pause. Chase, you're the one that spotted the rat.
Yeah, you said, I'm like 95% sure right now I just saw a rat run under the dishwasher. I wasn't there. I wish I was, because that would have been something else.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 100%. Okay, I remember rat. I remember that story now.
Good thing
How
Poof
did
and
we-
Pickle
how
were
did-
not there for this.
What ended up being? How did we deal with that?
So
Guys, open the front door, right?
yeah, so what happened was we opened the front door. Matt and I grabbed 2 brooms, and we're like, all right, like it's somewhere in the kitchen area. Like we got to figure out a way to get this towards the front of the house, towards the open door. So like we just start banging on shit. I think we even had like a pot and a pan, like we're stomping on the floor. And then he scurries out.
Vibrations, baby.
And literally, like, I mean, you've seen in some other videos, like we took a broom and we fucking hockey pucked it,
Yep.
like towards the front of the house and just kept like shooting it basically towards.
This
the
was a
front
pretty
door.
sizable creature, wasn't
Oh,
it?
he was.
It was
fat.
not a mouse. This motherfucker was a rat.
It was actually a rat.
Sewer rat.
Yeah.
Thick boy.
Super shredder type of
Yeah.
Possibly radioactive.
Definitely master shredder status. But yeah, I mean,
So
we
what did
swept him out.
I completely forgot about that until now. I do remember the spotting of, because I remember not being. It was just like a lackadaisical thing. I was like, oh, I definitely saw it like that.
Oh yeah.
What
you
about
saw
the
it.
what about the ODs on our when?
So here's the
Explain
thing.
that to me.
We're not exactly sure that they were ODs, but
Okay.
I can recall maybe 7 or 8 times where I saw paramedics taking someone out in a body bag or a
Oh,
or a
okay.
gurney. So
Okay.
anytime I saw the bag, I knew that they had reached their time had come, if you will. So what
Should go to
else
medical school.
in a place like Coriopolis that is known to be
Hey
ridden
guys,
with
this person's
narcotics.
dead. Get the body back.
Yeah.
Their
In a
time
place
has
like
come. Their time has
Coriopolis that is
come.
just ridden with narcotics, you have to figure that you're going to see one of those every once in a while.
That's fair.
That's
I don't know if you could say Coriopolis is ridden with narcotics. I say that's a hard stretch. Like it's a little up and coming town in Pittsburgh. It's not some fucking heroin ridden city.
Caleb, in like 2000, I forget what year it was, but they did a drug sweep in Coriopolis and arrested 84 people. A part of a drug operation. You can't tell me that place doesn't have drugs. And the police chief. I remember my barber used to tell me the police chief of Coriopolis was the biggest drug addict in town.
He did mention that a few times. He did bring that up in conversation. Shout out
Scotty B.
to
Scotty
Scotty B.
B
Thank you
one
for
time.
remembering his name. He did a good job because he
Great
did
guy.
very well. Yeah, it was. We had an interesting sorts of characters. I don't remember as many body bags as you.
Maggie the
I also lived
bulldog.
there for
Oh
for
my
less time
god.
than you.
That
Yeah,
disgusting.
probably our first year living there, first half of the year living there, we found this really I don't want to say decrepit, but decrepit certainly dog named Maggie.
An
She
English
wasn't
bulldog.
healthy. That's for sure.
Very
I just
old,
remember she had
very
pus like all over her
blind.
eyes.
Yeah, couldn't see for shit, definitely.
Couldn't
So we let her
smelled like shit.
smelled pretty bad. But she had tags and everything, so we called up the owner. And she stayed at our house for a night. The dude it was definitely a situation where it was like he called up and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna come pick her up tomorrow morning." I said, "Great." So he shows up and he's like, "Thank you for like holding on to my dog. I want to like repay you." I'm like, "Oh no, that's all right. Don't worry about it." And he's like, "No, I want to like buy you some beer. Get in my van." So I mean, naturally, like me in
You
that
get in the
position,
van.
what else do you do but get in the van, right? So I get in the van and
We're adults.
we drive down to the distributor, and he's just telling me these wild, sick, snap Coriopolis stories, and then he bought us a 12-pack of Dos Equis, and never saw him again.
Right.
Faded away into the mists of life.
Rogan's, what a place.
Yeah. Yeah, but shout out to Maggie the Bulldog. We also had, with the nice moments, we also had some pretty dark moments, not necessarily like anything like too terrible, but we definitely had some pretty sloppy run-ins during our
Speaking of, I just remember a time where there was a fountain of shit coming out of the floor in our basement after someone flushed the downstairs toilet.
Oh,
yeah,
the shit party?
The shit party.
let's
I love how that's just the name for it. The shit.
And I know who
We're
flushed the
out.
toilet. I'm not going to say their name right now because they would lose their job.
If we're
but-
out, I'll put it in the private chat. You tell me if this is the right person. I'm going to put this in the private.
You know who it
pretty
is.
Sure that's the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We're pretty lackadaisical, easygoing guys. We don't get into too much mischief. We're pretty chill, but we considered our house we're chill guys. All right, that's true too. I wanted to make it sound good, Matt. I wanted to make it sound good. But we lived in this house for a while, and it wasn't very long until we started like we were okay with declaring that we're gonna have parties and we're gonna have people over to our house. So living very close to the campus, being not many people with like houses that were willing to throw parties and things of that nature, we usually had a good amount of people showing up and just like kind of hanging out with us, partying with us, and it was a good time. But the first time that we had a party was not the smoothest of times. Caleb, were you here for this incident? I'm pretty sure you.
I was actually not. It was my first day of Dunkin' Donuts the next morning because it was after.
Okay, so
Airbag.
you were not in attendance.
I was not in attendance.
Okay, so I'll say the four of us were. Can any of you want to set the stage of kind of what happened before that, and kind of like the fact that we were our tubes were winterized and things like that?
So let me preface it by saying, like, the reason why we were like, it was kind of like stressed that we were gonna have like good parties was, one, because the fraternity, we had a couple fraternity houses that parties were at, and Tony's, which
Sure.
was down the street, were always
Right.
really fucking awesome. We couldn't really do that. We went in another house to do it. So, at least for myself, I wanted to be able to be like, yo, the party was really awesome. Show everybody a good time, blah, blah, blah. So, we
Definitely.
wanted to have the first one, be pretty nice. And I think it was quite the opposite. So
I don't think the first.
Yeah.
I don't think the shit happened the first party. I think it was like within the first like couple.
No, it was the first one, dude.
I feel like
It was the first one.
I'm
It
pretty
was
sure
entirely
maybe I'm
two
wrong.
different ones.
Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think
Well, it happened a couple of different times. It did happen a
yeah,
couple.
we had shit come out of the floor more than once.
the one where we put the tarp over.
Yeah,
The
and then
tarp was the
someone
first.
still managed to do it.
All right, so before we give too many details away about what happened, just kind of setting the stage. We're having a party this night, and it's pretty contained. There's not too many people. It's pretty much the standard group. We have us or there, the people that are in a fraternity, our friends at the school and otherwise, or just they're all around there, all hanging out. It's a good time. We're coming. It had to be August, right? It had to have been August or
August or
so.
September.
Our pipes in our basement were still winterized. So
They never were not. He never did anything about that.
well, we had a shower down there and we had a toilet in our basement that we did not use. We were told not to use because of the way that the pipes and the system was set up, that if we used it, the bad things would happen. So we just knew, fine, cool. We don't use that. We don't use that toilet. We don't use that shower.
Yeah, but people can't read.
Skip
the
to
signs that
having a
you put on the
party.
toilet.
Now, I want to say at this point, this first party, we did make signs, correct?
Yes.
Do not use this bathroom. Do not use this toilet. Do not flush this toilet. Like we definitely, I know the second time we made more and it was like more apparent. The first time I'm pretty sure we were even said, hey, please don't use this toilet. Don't flush. Like don't use this bathroom type of thing. And we get to, I guess, we're pretty well into the night. We have our first floor that some people are on, and we have our basement, which most people are on. That's where the music's being played, things of that nature. I'm upstairs at some point, and I just kind of, because where my bedroom is, and I'm seeing people come upstairs from down. Were any of you in the basement while it was happening?
I think I was.
Okay, so
I
Matt,
was not.
what was your experience? Because let's just put it out there. Someone went into the bathroom, used it, flushed, and then shit came out of our floor.
Yeah, dude.
And it's not like, I'm not being facetious, like literal shit, like
Sewage.
chunks,
Sewage, paper,
sewage.
like everything.
Yeah.
Like
If you've ever seen like a funny joke in like a movie or TV show where there's like a septic tank thing, like have you seen Joe Dirt where like he knocks the septic tank thing off of him on his back and shit starts flowing out? That's what was happening in our floor in our basement. So Matt,
It
what do
wasn't
you
like
think?
a geyser. It was just like
Yeah,
a
it
steady
was-
little.
Yeah, it wasn't like a geyser. It was just like it was coming up
steady
slowly.
raised
Yeah,
shit.
like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Matt, what was going through your head when you were first aware of the situation?
I'm thinking to myself, oh God, no. This is it for us. Like we're never gonna recover. Yeah, okay. You know, watching Tiger Kings and Joe.
I'm never gonna financially
We're
recover
never
from
gonna
this.
financially recover from this. Exactly what I felt. And then I think panic started to go in, and we were like, "Shit!" Now, literally, shit. What do we do? And yeah, I don't know who came up with the tarp idea, but we put a tarp over the drain, and
Yeah.
just like smushing down shit, and it just smelled so bad. Everybody went upstairs.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was just downhill from there.
And it
Somehow
was,
it didn't
I
get
think the
busted, though.
panic. Blessed up on that. The panic ensued because people weren't really like willing, like trying to leave. Like besides me coming out of my like room area and like seeing some people come upstairs, be like, "Yo, it smells really bad down there," and then to go downstairs and then like now we're at a point where like people are still like. If we're in our basement and the shit's happening back here, people aren't just like, oh, I'm gonna leave. They're just like hanging out away from the shit. So we get this tarp, we lay it down, and then it starts oozing through the tarp at some point. And I'm like mad, and I'm thinking this cannot be happening the first time that we decide to like have people over here. Like we cannot be the shit people that shit starts coming out. It's coming out of their floors. Like
That's
if
why
you could,
Cody
if
called our house
you
a sewage pit.
100%. If you ask me, if you can ask me 10 scenarios to come up with of worst things to happen, like before that party would have started, I would not have come up with shit coming out of the floor. That's something I would have not have mentioned.
But
So
god damn it took the cake.
Those
God damn it,
shit
You know what's crazy to me?
That's a
What's
literal
crazy to me
adjective.
through like we honestly like really had some wild times there as far as like the amount of people in the house. And
Yeah, I mean,
you know, we
we
never
weren't
really
always
had
free
any
of the
issues with police, except for the one time we had 15 people max after a devastating Greek week loss. So we decided to, you know, drink our sorrows away. And I had gone to bed. I thought everybody was gone. Thought everything was all cool. Here comes Brooklyn rushing up to my room. Cops are here. Cops are here. I'm like, what are you talking? I was like, you guys all like, I thought everyone was gone. She's like, no, we were all on the roof. I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you've ever seen a neighborhood just with like I mentioned, like we were separated by a very narrow alley. Our roofs essentially, if you wanted to, you could run and jump across.
You wouldn't even need
our
to jump.
neighbor's
You
roof.
could just extend your foot.
Extend yourself pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So we had power lines that were up there, and we had friends that were up on the roof that were thinking, hey, it'd be a great idea if we like scale these power lines to the other roof and like had a good time doing that.
That conversation with Enzo the next morning was hilarious.
Terrible, bro. Terrible. He's just like you can't let people climb onto my roof. Like I grabbed my gun. I grabbed my gun because there were people on my roof. Like your friends, like we had to call the police, and I had to grab my gun, and I was planning on killing someone because there were people on. Your friends were on my roof.
Right? No, I mean, no,
that was the conversation.
That's real.
That was the conversation we had the next
conversation.
morning, and we're just like, I was just like, shit. He's like, I was ready to kill and murder someone, and we're like,
Do you know?
right,
Do you know what happened when I first moved in and I worked at Dunkin' Donuts and I like walked over and gave him some donuts?
No.
He's like, you can't have people on the roof. You can't have them on the roof. And I'm like, hey, I just moved in. Like, I'm just trying to make a good impression. You know, here's some donuts. He's like, yeah, you know, you just people on the roof. It's just, you know, it makes me nervous. It's not good. And I'm like, all right, like, I don't know what you want me to do.
I remember, I definitely remember you talking about that. But you know, the whole thing was like the Coraopolis police were so insistent on checking all the rooms that they called in the Moon Township Police, the Robert Morris Campus Police, the Robinson Township Police, and the Swickley Borough Police.
So we had 5 different departments.
And the only cops that actually cared about the scenario or the situation were the Coraopolis ones who were hell bent to get inside.
And you were saying all kinds of heinous shit to them, Brian.
I was not. I didn't say anything. You know, risque like that. That was you know who was fucking Kevin and Morgan. Morgan was like, the cops was like, you know, you can't be having these loud parties in a working class town. People have to get up in the morning. And Morgan's like, this isn't a working class town. This is a shit town.
It's true.
And then
those things were stated.
Literally, they got so offended they just took him to the ground and put him in cuffs.
That is also true.
I was shook.
So to set that stage a little bit, it's 5 different police departments outside of our quaint little home at least 2:00 in the morning. At the very least 2:00 in the morning.
3.
Probably 3. We're not gonna. I mean, we definitely had some things going on in the house that we did not want anyone to be involved with. We were kind of just like trying to go to bed and like trying to get out of that environment. But they were not as adamant about leaving the environment. So we had a little sweep. We had a little sweep that lasted a couple of minutes.
To be honest with you, I didn't think they would find anybody. They found people I had no idea were still there, because I thought the only people that were on the roof were Booty, Weeder, and Morgan and Kevin. We're all over the age of 21. So I was like, all right, this is
Can I ask a question to someone who wasn't
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah.
And this question's just for Jordan. Jordan, could you explain how Brian was, quote, wiling at the cops? Since, just out of curiosity.
Okay, I wasn't. To be honest, I was not outside. I wasn't 21, so
you were
I'm
underage at the
hiding.
time, yeah.
I'm hiding in my room. I was. This is like the most scared I had ever been.
Dude, Chase and I were outside. I would ask Chase that question.
Yeah. That's a Chase question, because I was watching the both of them from like the crack of my window.
I don't recall me
Through the
saying anything, awful.
There was nothing heinous necessarily said. There was definitely like, there was definitely never an agreement between us and. Let's just say that we could have probably ended the night with only having one police department there instead of 5. We probably could have, if we weren't so adamant about what we were adamant about and just like talking and our friends didn't feel like interjecting, we probably would have gotten out there.
Dude, I just know that Booty
dealing with
claims
the
that she was such an
officers.
angel in that situation, and she was literally like straight up telling the cops to go, like, leave. There's nothing to see here. And it's like, Booty's gonna sit and say that I was the one, provoking them to take extra measures, but we all know that is not the case.
Well, regardless,
In my opinion.
everyone pretty much was unscathed from that, except for, of course, me, who had to go to civil court in Coraopolis and have that hash that shit out. But we were all good. Nothing came of it. That was definitely that was the last month living in the house for me at least. So I was glad that was the my last kind of taste of the.
And
place.
then Chase, you plan to live there again the next year, and then I think after that happened, Ryan said that we weren't allowed to like that, or the person said we weren't allowed to live there, and then we ended up still living there again. So there was a time like the lake house was in jeopardy, and then we ended up being there for 2-3 more years.
Well, do you remember the one time that someone sat up on this countertop with the sink and then cracked a pipe underneath and it started leaking everywhere?
Well, they cracked the counter too.
Yeah. Must have been a large gentleman or someone else.
I think that was one of the funnier things about the house was having stuff get broken progressively and having our landlord be like, "What the fuck is this?" Like,
Dude,
it
when I
happened
tried
8
making
months
my
ago.
exit, when I tried making my exit, he tried blaming all that shit on me. Like there was a railing that was like broken off from like Gabe, like falling into it or something.
Oh my god, dude! Gabe had himself an episode with the banister.
Yeah, that's.
Can I tell you my very first experience when I moved into the lake house?
Yeah, go for it.
Where's yours?
So I'm like, all right, I know I'm gonna be, using the shower a lot, so I think it's time to like finally clean it. And fucking Brian, Matt, everyone in the house are like, yeah, Herman just fucking ruined this bathroom because he's so hairy. Like, we've been pouring Drano in it for fucking months. It won't go down at all, dude. The Drano won't do anything. And I'm like, oh my god, dude, the shower doesn't work. I literally go up, and you know how the shower has like a drain that lets up or down? I pressed it down, and it emptied. And I'm like, son of a bitch. They're like...
No, that upstairs bathroom was out of commission for like the last several months of living.
You have we were
We were,
That's all it was.
I do. That bathroom's out of commission for a good while. We were all using, so all 5 of us were using the same bathroom for months and months, which also resulted in us using just like instead. It used to be like me and Jordan. We'd have like our own like hygiene products, and you guys have yours upstairs. But when 5 people are going through the same 3 rolls of toilet paper, everyone gets like super spiteful of each other, and nobody wants to buy toilet paper. So I think we didn't have toilet paper like before any sort of global pandemic was going on. The 750, the lake house was out of toilet paper for a duration of time. We were all very spiteful of each other, and nobody decided to go and buy more toilet paper.
The very first time that I cleaned the upstairs bathroom, I swear to God, there were like fucking like the cardboard like that had toilet paper like with poop on them, like thrown in the trash can.
Oh man!
One
I hope
time
none of my family
I'm
sees.
sitting downstairs and I hear yelling coming from the first floor shower, and I think Matt's in the shower and Jason comes out and is like, "Dude, hurry up!" And they're just like getting in a yelling fight while Matt's butt ass naked in the shower. And
Reverse. So
was it him in the shower?
Yeah, what was
Okay.
happening was, so this was the situation was, it was
You almost took
finals,
your towel off and snapped you with it.
it was fucking finals week, and I needed to pass one more goddamn final, and it was taxes too, and it was the hardest class I've ever taken in my life. I was so stressed out about the test. I needed to get like an 86, like an 89 or better. I had to get like an A, basically, to pass the class and like graduate. So I'm like trying to get to the library, and Jason is in the shower and taking like a long ass time, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get out of here so I can study. And he's like, where do you gotta be? And keeps pointing at me. And I'm like, all right, listen here, guys. So we get in a little push and shoving match. His fucking towel falls off, and he's like, all right, wait a second. So we fucking put a timeout on it. He goes back into the bathroom, puts on like some clothes, and he's like, "All right, so we'll get back at it again." And I'm like, ready to fucking.
He just goes, time out. You got to take your clothes off too.
Jason's like one of my best friends, so I wouldn't punch him, but I was damn close to cocking back but that was the situation.
Yeah. That was a fun one for me being a third party.
Oh yeah, I was Jordan. You and I don't remember what we were watching, but we were watching something together in the living room, and then like just within minutes of looking straight at the TV, we're like this, looking at the bathroom, just staring at Matt and Jason like basically fight each other, trying to keep their clothes on at the same time. It was honestly
kind of hot.
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Oh man.
Good
I
times.
remember like another shower situation being very heated. Me and Ray would get into a fight at least twice a week.
Yep.
About the shower, and it resulted in him starting to call me Showers Magoo. Showers Magoo. But essentially, what would happen is it would be like the night before. Ray would be like, "All right, I'm gonna get up at 6:30, get a quick shower, get on the 6:50 bus. Worst situation, I'm gonna get up, it's like 6:50 and shower, and then get the 7:29 bus. Okay." So I was up at 7:45. Ray's door still shut. Ray's still asleep. 7:45. Okay, both buses are already gone now. Ray's asleep. And I would go to the bathroom, and Ray's door had a hole in it, that's a whole nother story. But anytime I would go to the bathroom and shut the bathroom door, close it, that sound would wake him up. And he would run to the bathroom, and I would turn the shower on, and he would start pounding on the door, and he'd go, "Bro, can I please get in, dude? Like, I'm running late." And I'm like, dude, this happened yesterday and Monday and Friday and Thursday and Wednesday. He's like, dude, you have a car and you're 15 minutes away. I don't have a car and I'm an hour away. He's like, how is that fair? I'm like, because I'm going to be late now. That exact same argument happened at least twice a week. And sometimes like it would end with us screaming. Sometimes we would laugh in the end. I don't know. It was a lot of mixed emotions.
Ray is not easy to stay pissed off at for very long. For some reason, he's just like, he's got too much entertainment to give to really be pissed off at him for more than 2 minutes.
Me and Ray are both very in the moment people, and that was definitely like apparent living together. It's just like we would both explode and be like, "Well, we shouldn't have done that." Like
IPA Ray.
Jordan and I had some lackadaisical times. We'd never had, I don't think, any shower bouts. I mean, sometimes we showered together just to like conserve water.
Just to save water.
And it was like we were always trying to like be green and things like that, you know. So I think we had a pretty good time. We had a good dynamic in that regard too. You were killing it. We were just like killing it as far as that first full policy kind of goes. For sure.
The loofah definitely got some use.
The loofah. Listen, let me tell you about that loofah. Let's talk about the wooden end of that loofah, right? You know, that's when we really had the most fun in the shower. But I digress as far as that goes.
We should talk more about the bouts that we've had in the house.
Let's talk about it. I think Matt, you were definitely central for a few. I don't know, Matt. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite bout, either between you or between someone else?
Okay, so my favorite is Caleb. God bless you. I would always love getting in arguments with you. They were the ones to get into. And then the worst one, easily, Brian. You know what I'm talking about here. Let me paint the picture. let me paint the picture first to why things got off the rails very quickly. So whenever I was working doing the American Income deal, me and Sam sure. did this road trip to West Virginia. It was like during winter break. So long story short, we were out there working the entire week, and I came back with some cash. So I had it like stowed away in my room in a little secret spot. And the very next day, we went to go to the casino or whatever. I took a little cash out the next day. I went to go find it. Wasn't there. So it was this huge goose chase on like who took the money or whatever. And I don't even believe it was any of you guys. So at first, I thought it was like it had to be one of the roommates. So like it was this fucking witch hunt on who took the money. So it was for very long time. It was like a me against the world kind of deal, and I think that's where a lot of the fight stemmed. But to the Caleb stuff, we had I had an understanding that we were different. So like whenever you would get on like if you believe something, okay, and this isn't a knock, to be honest, like if you believe something, you would try and like explain your belief, right? And I took it as like a projection of what. So this is the example I always use. It was running backs in the NFL, and you were asking
David Johnson versus Ezekiel Elliott. I knew you were going to say that.
What my opinion was on who the best running back in the NFL was. And I think I said Le'Veon Bell, and you were like red in the face telling me David Johnson was the best one. And like at one point I had to walk away because like and then you came back in my room like 3 or 4 times to like send another factoid. And man, those were my favorite. Dude,
man, it's cursed me. I try so hard to get better. That's
We all
I
have
think
our
you definitely
vices.
have. I've definitely had. It's funny you say that, Matt. I've definitely had like not like when we were living together in the suite. There would be something minimal, but Caleb knew. He knew like how to press on certain things. So like I'd like be sitting like we'd have a conversation about something either like maybe early that day or early that week, and it wouldn't be like super heated, but enough. And then he would do a thing if I'm like in the common area or something. As he's leaving, he would just like say something. He would say some like smart shit as he's like walking out of the door as his like final tag of like I'm gonna fuck with you kind of thing. She's very good at it. Very good in that sense about.
Oh man, dude.
But I don't think. I mean, besides like I don't know. We definitely all got on each other about just like I don't know your general roommate kind of your general roommate turmoil. There were definitely some other things that were like a little further than a general roommate turmoil. But I mean, we had some times, man. We had some times where, is there, I guess we'll kind of, we'll wrap up a little bit here. Do you guys, are there any favorite moments you had just like living in the house or any takeaways you kind of like, I mean, we're pretty far removed from that now.
It's
We're
too
all
hard
about,
to pick a
I mean,
favorite. Really is. We've had
well, do you
like
have a takeaway from like living there versus like living now, like like a hindsight's 20 type of thing, or anything, any sort of send off? It doesn't have to even be about the house. Just anything. Matt or Caleb, let's go reverse order. Caleb, what you got, cuz?
Honestly, watching Ray turn into a Corey local for a year, that was fun to watch. That was really fun to watch. Just kind of the being there 2 years with like seeing enough people move, kind of saw the cycle of things both in the suite at the lake house. Not now, it's just me here with my thoughts. But just the cycle of like people moving out and moving in. Just the dynamic between roommates, how like there'd be bad moments and good moments with everybody. It would just depend. Overall, though, I would like to go back to your very first question. Like, I would love to see what this would be like right now during the quarantine. Like, I can imagine myself, like being like, are you sure you like washed your hands good enough? Like, or did you spray your Visa card after the McDonald's guy touched it? Like, I could just see those dynamics playing out right now.
Oh, easily. I think we would be very thankful that you were our roommate during a quarantine to keep everybody on top of their, sanitation and all that. Because if God forbid forget to put some hand sanitizer on after opening a door, like that type of thing.
What about for you, Jordan?
For me, I mean, nights out were always fun. When we were like all down to go out on the same night, which wasn't often.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those were some of the best times. Just going down to Jailhouse, shooting the shit, going to get tacos, whatever it may be. Anytime we were
with Corey Snaps or Corey,
right.
I'm sorry.
Anytime we were all together, it was always a good time. And it's just funny, like how kind of like Caleb said, people moving out, people moving in. I mean, me being in multiple living situations throughout college and whatever the last 5-6 years, definitely shines a lot of light on stuff. Just like when you're living with a bunch of people, you can't necessarily have someone else live the way that you want to live, regardless of how close you are. I mean, you could try and do it as much as you want, but at the end of the day, if they're not going to do it, that's on them. So stuff like that, I think, like moving forward, ever find a significant other to live with, I think that kind of dynamic definitely makes stuff easier because you've had so many different personalities and situations with stuff.
For sure.
Out of everyone you've lived with, and that let's say, who would be the worst person for you to be living with during your quarantine?
I'm not gonna say this. I'm not gonna say his name because that's just mean. but I know who I have in mind, and I think
Well,
we're
you
all
don't
on
have
the
to.
same
You don't
page
have
here.
to be mean about it.
Honestly, the worst person I would pick would probably be Brian, just because Brian, I feel like, would want to go out and do stuff all the time.
No, you can fuck right off. I'm disciplined with my social distancing.
That's his answer.
Like I've been so good about staying in the house, and I feel like Brian's like, oh, dude, like let's go do this, man. Let's go.
Nope. Caleb and I check in almost every day, and oh, hey there, bud. Hey there, little buddy. Look at him.
Yeah, not to mention
You
the
got to do the rest of the
dynamic
show
of
with him
two
in your lap.
cats.
Yeah, let's get some poof
Yeah,
time on.
true.
That was
You gotta do the rest of the
different
show.
for me because
What-
I'd never lived with cats. I've only ever been around dogs. And
Yes.
having two cats was
Any
amazing.
listeners right now, if you consider yourself a dog person and have any sort of remote vendetta against cats, I can promise you that would all go away. Just spending 5 minutes with this guy right here.
What are you doing?
I've never lived with cats either. I guess I've never had the pleasure, I should say. Brian, what about yourself, cuz? Did we? Yeah.
Are we doing like little wrap ups?
Yeah, just
Bas-
anything basically you got to say about like Caleb and Brian. You can cap off with like saying something about like the quarantine status if you're still living with us, or just basically how you felt about living in the house and how you feel now, and just like looking back on.
I really have no regrets living in the house. I think that all of us kind of gained some valuable experience and knowledge on just kind of how to even carry yourself living in a house. Most of us, obviously, we all come from good families. We know how that goes, but then when you're on your own, it's a whole different thing. But it was
Right.
I think that overall we meshed very well despite some blemishes here and there. Big or small, but definitely kind of like put some hair on my chest as far as like being prepared to take on the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and
Matt, what about you,
obviously just endless fun, endless entertainment, in that fucking shithole.
If you don't want to answer the opposite side of the question, who would be out of the people you've lived with, who would be the best person for you to stay with during quarantine?
Caleb, easily.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
What would you guys do?
We would have a common ground on distancing itself, and we would still sort of hang out the way that we've always hung out, and whether it be watch Red Zone or a movie or something. And I'm sure at some point I'd probably pass out, then wake up. Oh yeah, it was a great movie.
Wow.
Can I end on that? I love that story so much.
Go for it, man.
I watched The Prestige like for the first time when I was living at the lake house, and I liked it so much that I wanted to show Brian it. So I showed Brian, and he fell asleep like, with like 45 minutes left, maybe 50 minutes left, and he's out. And it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. The end happens, and then the credits start, and the credits are so loud that it wakes Brian up, and he's like, "That was a good movie." I was like, do you know what happened? And he's like, "Yeah, them guys just kept fucking with each other."
You should if they ever print new Blu-rays for the Prestige, they should definitely get that quote on the front of the box. just you guys get fuck with each other.
They did.
You're not wrong though. That is definitely how
watching
that is. He's entirely not wrong. That's entirely what happens for wrestling. There you go.
Oh, man.
What about for you, Matt? What about you, man?
I don't think we described enough why it was called the Lake House. So
True. Yeah. Go for it.
We had a mural in our living room
Yes.
of a lake scenery. So that's why we called it the Lake House, because like if you were sitting on the couch, like you just kind of had the lake behind you or whatever. It was just a very nice scene. Well, I suppose my favorite memory of the house is not so much as like one singular one, but just like a collective memory of that living room space. And like we had a pretty open area, a lot of couches, a lot of seats, and we always had a lot of heads roll through. So that's just what I remember most is chilling in the living room and having that camaraderie in there.
Yeah, for sure.
We could get our space
you
if
can
we needed it
answer-
easily.
Matt,
You
call
can answer
Matt.
any side of the question, Matt. Best or worst person for you to live with during quarantine? Best or worst?
I hate to say it, but only from previous experience, I would say Caleb. I definitely be cohesive in a quarantine situation.
Mr. Clean over
You
here.
guys would be going. You guys would be like the crazies. What about Caleb? You didn't. What about you, Caleb? Best or worst?
Out of all the people I've lived with,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, probably, Brian or Ray, just lots of fun, just lots of laughs. And then I'll even answer worst. In a quarantine situation, nothing in my tenure of all the people I lived with was nothing was worse than living across the outlet from Tommy and Ian in college. Jesus Christ, there is nothing worse ever than hearing them at 3 a.m. Ian drunk as shit at 3 a.m. like blasting like Yoko Ono or just something completely off the wall, like just like laughing. What the fuck? So yeah, that's what I would roll with.
So that'd be your.
The worst.
That'd be your last resort. All right, very good.
I-
I will. Yeah, I'll just kind of. Oh, go ahead. Did somebody?
Oh no,
Go
I was just gonna say,
ahead.
you can make a reality show out of Ray and Caleb in a quarantine together, and I would pay to watch.
I think you definitely could, and I think we should do. Maybe we'll have to do once we go through this and maybe listen back to it. I'm sure there's going to be things that pop in our heads that we thought of maybe. So we'll probably have to do a part 2 of this at some time in a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll have some other guests coming in and out of the show because we can have. I think we can have 6 people in here at a time at least, and then 2 other people like in reserves. So we can have a total of 8 people kind of hanging out with us doing a show. So we might just have another show with us, just where we invite other people to hang out and tell their side of the story and everything like that.
Yeah,
so,
let's get Bonnet on here.
As for me, just living in the house was a pretty good time over it all. I think the worst thing about it was I think the one thing that I'm thinking like now, I could have worked a lot less than I did while I was living there. I think I definitely spent a lot more time like trying to stay out of the house and keep busy outside of the house and inside of the house. But we always had a good time. Like Brian mentioned, we had basketball court next to our kitchen. We played
Little
games.
Tykes
We had a
court.
good time. I mean, Little Tykes court to be specific, Little Tykes hoop.
Yeah,
we always
so
had a good
Jordan could
time.
dunk.
We always exactly. We always
bud.
there we go. We always flowed with each other very well and had good organic times with each other. So I know the 5 of us it's been a minute. I was trying to think of the last time the 5 of us have been together, and it's been a long time. I can't even really pinpoint the exact moment or anything like that. So we're gonna have to, once out of lockdown and everything, that we're gonna have to get together and tell some of the more maybe explicit nature stories off air. I think that'd
We
be a
kept
good
it
time
very
for us.
G-rated tonight.
But we kept it pretty G-rated. I think we told a lot of good stories too, and I don't think that we necessarily will have anyone upset with us.
Yeah, no
for
one's losing their
anything. I
job
think
for
we
any of
should
this.
at least.
So I definitely left out the one I meant to say for sure. So a part 2 is definitely.
Yeah. I think a part 2 is going to be necessary for us for sure. We'll do that. We'll do that pretty soon here. But yeah, thank you for joining us. If you're still here with us listening, thanks a lot. We had a good time today. I'm really happy that Matt, Brian, Jordan, and Caleb could join me on this episode of the Cheap Seats. As the channel and the show continue to grow, make sure you're subscribing and following along. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Anchor, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Anywhere your podcasts are available, you can find the show. As for you viewers out there, YouTube, we put clip outs on a different channel too. They'll pop up on Twitter, maybe Facebook, Instagram, things like that. So just keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you're following Plenty of Seats on the social media. Thank you guys for joining me today. I had a
Of course,
really good
man.
time
I had a
doing
blast.
this.
Thanks for having
I had
me.
a great
that
time.
was fun.
Always a pleasure.
If you guys,
You guys
want to
are-
video
you guys
chat at
are-
all, download Duo and we can video chat whenever.
All right, Mr.
Yeah,
Google
we'll have to
Pixel.
we'll have to do this a little bit more. I think this is a good time, and I think if we get some other people in here, I think we could have a real romping time. So thanks a lot, guys, for listening to us today.
Of course.
Keep checking out the Cheap Seats and the other shows on the network. Nobody's Home, Creative Differences, things like that. A lot of other things are going to be coming out of the woodwork. You're going to see new faces like this. You're going to see these guys again, most likely. I don't think any of these guys had too bad of a time tonight, so they'll probably come back and have a little bit of
I'll
fun
be back.
on the show. I appreciate that. So thanks to God for listening. And if you're looking for some place to go or anything like that, please join us in the Cheap Seats because there's plenty of room. I'm Chase Brown for Matt Miller, Brian Minitzer, Jordan Long, Caleb Malone. This has been the Cheap Seats. Thanks for listening.